You're going to regret stepping on my property. I'm standing on my own land. You're the one crossing the property line. One more pass with that mower and you'll wish you never started. Then you better hope the survey agrees with you. Stop! I'm warning you!
The first time it happened, Daniel thought it was an honest mistake, but by the third time his freshly mowed property line had been cut over. He knew it wasn't, and what happened next turned into the most unforgettable property line lesson the entire neighborhood had ever seen. Daniel Carter wasn't just a homeowner for over 15 years. He had built a reputation as one of the most precise lawn care professionals in the county. Every stripe, every edge, every property line he maintained was measured clean and intentional. His own yard was no different. Every weekend he carefully mowed all the way to the surveyed boundary markers, keeping the line between his land and his neighbors perfectly straight. At least it used to be. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel came home after finishing a full day of mowing for clients. Before unloading his trailer, he walked across his front lawn. Then he stopped. Nearly 6 feet of freshly cut grass along his property line had been mowed in the opposite direction. The clean stripes he had finished just 2 days earlier were gone. Someone had crossed onto his property and cut part of his lawn as if it belonged to them. Daniel stood there quietly. He looked across the yard and noticed his neighbor standing beside a riding mower. The man smiled casually. "Thought I'd save you a little work." Daniel forced a polite smile. "I appreciate the thought, but that's actually my property." The neighbor shrugged. "Close enough." Daniel didn't argue. He simply walked away. The following weekend, it happened again. Same section. Same mower tracks. Same 6 feet of Daniel's land cut without permission. This time, Daniel didn't say a word. Instead, he watched from his driveway. A few minutes later, the neighbor proudly drove his mower straight across the invisible boundary again. Daniel walked over calmly. "You're cutting my property?" The man barely slowed down. "It's only a few feet." Daniel remained calm. "Those few feet are exactly where my property begins." The neighbor laughed. "Grass is grass. It doesn't matter." That sentence stayed with Daniel. Grass is grass. Because those few feet weren't just grass. They were property. They were boundaries. They were years of carefully maintaining land that legally belonged to him. That evening, Daniel stood quietly beside the survey pin, half hidden beneath the grass, looking across the line where his neighbor had crossed again. And an idea formed. Not angry, not emotional, just precise. Because in lawn care, the cleanest lines always start with knowing exactly where the property ends. And Daniel had just figured out the cleanest way to teach his neighbor that lesson. Like and follow, because what Daniel did next turned 6 feet of grass into the most expensive mowing mistake his neighbor had ever made.